If you look at the polls, the nation at large is about 65 to 70%, depending on how the question is posed, pro-Israel. When you break that support down, Republican, Democrat, the Republican support is higher than the national average. It's up to 80%, 90%. When you look at the Democratic, it goes down below 50% for the first time. And so Joe Biden reflects that reality. He understands that the nation itself supports Israel, and especially his opponents. And there's 6 million Jewish Americans, and 4 million can vote, and they are overrepresented as the donor class. 70% vote Democratic. And Joe Biden then understands where the nation is at, and he understands where a lot of his strongest supporters are at, but he sees that the Democratic Party is evaporating. It doesn't really exist as it used to on issues like transgenderism or DEI or ESG, etc. And the people leading the Democratic Party are the radical BLM, Antifa, the Squad, the Black Caucus, all of these very radical groups. So the result of how that manifests itself, if I'm Joe Biden and there are Jewish students this week beaten up or locked in a library or people are shouting, go back to Poland, I say, I deplore all violence. On the one hand, I do not want to see any more anti-Semitism, and I don't want to see any more Islamophobia. But there's no Islamophobia. There's almost non-existent on these campuses. The people who are expressing the anti-Semitism are primarily, not exclusively, but the leaders of that group are from the Middle East. So when people look at this, they said, oh my God, this is Orwellian. We've got all these students from the Middle East, and they are the most prominent in all the demonstrations, and they are yelling, we are Hamas, we love Hezbollah, death to America, death to Israel, and Joe Biden is suggesting they're suffering from Islamophobia? This is absurd. And so then he's hemorrhaging more as much with the Jewish vote and people who sympathize with Israel in the Democratic Party and the independents as he is with the young people. If I were Joe Biden, I would write off the 250,000 voters who are Arab, American, or Muslim. I don't mean write them off and offend them, but I would try to maintain my party's support for Israel because there are more Jewish voters, there's more donor money, and there's more independent voters that sympathize. And when you look at November, if all of these kids on campus say, we're going to sit out in Michigan, well, they better be very careful, because if they lose Michigan and Donald Trump is elected, one of the things he said he's going to do is do what he did last time and issue a travel ban, not on Muslim or Arab countries, but on countries he feels are dangerous and you cannot trust their home immigration authorities to vet their immigrants coming into here. So Somalia, North Korea, Iran, and Gaza, and the West Bank, and Syria, and Iraq, those students, many of them wouldn't be here. So I can't imagine that they're going to vote for that. But by not voting for Biden, they will be voting for that. So the dilemma's on them. They think they're putting everybody in a dilemma. I would say to them, stay home if you want. And that will ensure that Michigan goes to Donald Trump. And while he won't target you, he will say your home country that you now romanticize and you praise to the skies, but under no circumstances do you want to go back there. You're going to have to go back there. And then I think we haven't even talked about, among this legislation to reform the campuses, there's a big move in the Republican Senate to question the promiscuous use of the student visa. Do we really want to let these universities determine our own immigration policies? When you have a Middle Eastern Lebanese lecturer at George Washington, and when you have an African-American Republican Congressman, Byron Donalds, come on campus 2 days ago and he says, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a race traitor, you're a bastard. Is that the type of Are we so short of talented faculty in the United States we have to import people like that? And the same goes to these students. We have enough problems without having some student come and praise Hamas to the skies. I don't think they add much to the American mosaic. And I think, so I don't understand where they think their leverage is. They think they have all this leverage. They only have leverage in the tiny little atmosphere of the campus, only because they have timid college president. The college presidents really have all the leverage. All it would need is, one of them in these left-wing elite campuses could say, you're going to break up the camp. If you don't do it, we're going to arrest you. If you're arrested, you're going to lose your student visa because we're going to suspend you. And if you lose your student visa, you're going to have to go back where you came from. And they're either afraid of the loss of revenue or they're afraid that they would offend people, but they have enormous clout if they want to use it.